It's a very, very cold day here in the Carolinas. Definitely not expected this. I definitely did not expect this weather at all. Even though people warned me, I just said, nah, 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 not here, not where I am now. This is a New England kind of weather or northern kind of weather. So, anyways, and my Reiki studio, I guess you could call it, or my Reiki office, Reiki and crystal office, froze. I thought the heat was on; it must have shut off. So everything is frozen over there, and it was cold. So I'm working on thawing things out, and hopefully they'll get thawed out soon. So in that, I've been, I yesterday was a very low energy day for some reason, and I'm not sure why. I'm sure it's because of all the energies that are going on and around us every single day. Sometimes I just want to say it's crazy energy. Um, and I believe that the crazy energies created by crazy sources. So with that, plus we have all the moons and the planets all um, in line, out of line, and things like that. So with that, I reviewed um, I reviewed the book of John. I was gonna write down a whole lot of things, but I'm kind of an impromptu kind of person, and I will like pull some things out of here that I want to read. So what I do, because I do have a learning disability when it comes to reading, and I believe it comes from my father's side. I think he may have been dyslexic. I don't know. It's hard to say because they just didn't test those things way back when. So for me, reading is a very difficult task um, when I don't use the techniques that I have learned throughout the years. So I have to combine reading with reading, like people do, along with audio. And then sometimes I even have to read out loud. There's something about the processing that when I read, I'm really not hearing what I'm reading. So it takes numerous times for me to kind of get the comprehension part of it. It's not that I can't read; it's the processing of the information. So with audiobooks, it makes it it makes it a lot easier. But I need that other component too, where I'm seeing the words, I'm reading along, I'm kind of highlighting, and then I'm reading. So this isn't supposed to be a video on reading disabilities. But if you have a reading disability and have a hard time with reading text, especially sacred text, because sacred texts are very, very intense. In the words that they use often, are intense. They're words that we don't normally see and we don't really know. So one of the words that's going to be used is pleroma, and I just have to check this real quick. Oh, missed it. Okay. Is pleroma. And pleroma, used in the text that I'm going to be um, kind of interpreting here, means that it's the totality of divine powers. So whenever pleroma is being used, it just is all divine powers. So the ethers, the heavens, so that's kind of the idea of that. And then there was another word that I wanted to um so Sophia, like I had discussed last week, Sophia was a deity that kind of fell short because from her own desires, and then she was made whole again, and her journey, her path was to help mankind overcome the villain, her falling short um, caused. So, and if you remember, I talked about Yaldabaoth, which was the son that she created without permission. She kind of, I guess, as spirits, we can just kind of do things like this. I don't know. But she created from the higher divine, the good God, from his seed, she created this son. And this son was called Yodaba, or known as the Demiurge. And the Demiurge, and I am not here to offend anybody's religion or beliefs. I'm going by the Nag Hammadi book libraries, and these books were found and in the Dead Sea Scrolls. They're part of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and they were found in the Dead Sea in Nag Hammadi, and that's why they're called the Nag Hammadi Library. And it's information that we kind of have been. They were actually supposed to all be destroyed. The powers that be did not want this information to be dispersed out to mankind. And the more you study this information, the more you can see why. Because a lot of the things they're talking about, the chaos and stuff, is kind of what we're living today. So Yaldabaoth was the son, and in the meaning of his, even though he was a very powerful deity, he was also weak because he was ignorant. He was ignorant of anything else. All he knew was evil, and jealousy, all those, the seven deadly sins. That's what Yaldabaoth knew. He didn't know anything else because he didn't, when he was conceived and birthed, because it was done in deception, all he received was the negative entities of his being, if that makes sense. I hope it does. It makes sense to me. So we had pleroma. The other word, there was also another word. We know Sophia means wisdom. And I know there was another word that I wanted to make sure that let's see. Okay, they're going to talk about the water of forgetfulness, and that was the water, and it had a bitter taste to it and everything. And the Bible talks about this water. It's in Genesis. So there was a water, a body of water that had a bitter taste to it, and that was the water of forgetfulness. And so let's see what else. There was another word. Just want to try to find it, but maybe we won't. Maybe we won't find it. Okay. So in forethought. So forethought was the good God. Okay. So we'll put it in that light there. The supreme deity that was still there, but he was kind of up above, kind of letting Sophia and her demiurge son do their thing down here. So so it was Sophia's job to kind of, when she was given all her powers back, for her deception, and she went and she repented, and she was asked, for forgiveness and everything. And the good God, did forgive her. The good God was also known as forethought. She was forgiven. And what happened was she was forgiven and all her powers were given back to her so that she could come down and oversee all of the things that the demiurge was doing and try to make sure that mankind survived. And there were two Adams that were created. The first Adam was created, and that Adam had gotten destroyed because he had all of the powers of both Sophia, wisdom, and the forethought, the super being of forethought. So Adam came about, and it ended up that Adam, he pulled from the demiurge the good energy of Sophia. And Sophia was kind of like recreated through Adam. And he had that knowledge, he had that wisdom, he had the ability to know what the demiurge was. And the demiurge was a very jealous god, and he decided he was going to destroy Adam. And he did that. He destroyed Adam. And then with all his deities, because he made in this book, this is my book. This is the Nag Hammadi library for me. And he took all of these deities that he created. He created all these deities, not humans, but deities. And in the end, he had 365 deities. Now that kind of clicks for me, because what do we know that's 365? Our calendar year. Our calendar year was created. I don't know if it was Roman, the Roman calendar. It was taken. The Greeks use a completely different calendar than we do. Not the Greeks, the Jewish use a completely calendar than we do. We use a calendar that was created by I want to say the demiurge, now that I know this, and that's the calendar we use. So the audiobook, let me just tell you, the audiobook is the Gnosticism, the Nag Hammadi books, and it's by Raven Bloodstone. So this is the audio one that I listened to. And I'll tell you, the first time I heard this, I listened to it first and didn't read it first. I listened to it, and it was like, whoa, I'm serious. That's how I felt when I heard it through audio. Then I got the book, and I don't know why this is doing that. I've got some kind of weird thing going on here. So let me just see if it will go away here. And it's not going away. Always keep on this device, I guess. Okay, it's gone. Yay. All right. So, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. I do know what I'm doing, but I don't know what I just did. All right. So then, so we're talking about the calendar. So those 365 deities, each one of them, a new Adam was created, and each one of them put a piece of themselves into Adam. And the funny thing is there were, okay, so, and it's on page 113 in this book, that talks about how each one gave a little bit of themselves to create Adam. And they were trying to create the perfect man. So I'm going to read from here. I'm just going to read about Sophia, what happened. And okay, so here it goes. She saw what she created, okay, which was pure evil, okay. It said, then the mother began to move to and fro. She became aware of the deficiency when the brightness of her light diminished. And she became dark because her consort had not agreed with her, which was the Lord. I mean, he didn't agree to make this offspring. And I said, Lord, what does it mean that you move to and fro? But he smiled and said, do not think it is as Moses said, above the waters. No, but when she had seen the wickedness which had happened and the theft which her son had committed, she repented. And she was overcome by forgetfulness in the darkness of ignorance. And that's what he was, ignorance and weak. And she began to be ashamed. And she did not dare to return, but she was moving about. And the moving is the going to and from and fro. And the arrogant one took a power from his mother, for he was ignorant, thinking that there existed no other except his mother alone. So again, that thought was, I'm taking all her power, and then there'll be nobody equal to me. I will be the superior one. Greed and lust for power. And when he saw the multitude of the angels which he had created, then he exalted himself above them. And when the mother recognized that the garment of darkness was imperfect, then she knew that her consort had not agreed with her. She repented with much weeping. And the whole pleroma, so that's the the deity, the total, the total holiness, the total goodness. So the whole pleroma heard the prayer of her repentance, and they praised on her behalf the invisible vaginal spirit. And that the idea of the virgin having a baby, this is the concept of that idea. And he consented. And when the invisible spirit had consented, so the invisible spirit, that was the one that she took the seed from, the Holy Spirit poured over her from their whole pleroma. For it was not her consort who came to her, but he came to her through the pleroma in order that he might correct her deficiency. So the highest being wanted her to correct the mistake she had made. And the only way she could do that was if she had all those abilities, those powers back. And she was taken up not to her own Acon, but above her son. So she was to reign over her son, that she might be in the ninth until she has corrected her deficiency. So that deficiency still exists today. And then it says, and a voice came from the exalted Aeon heaven. The man exists and the Son of Man. And the chief archon Yaldabaoth heard it and thought that the voice had come from his mother. And he did not know from where it came. And he taught them the holy and perfect mother, father, the complete foreknowledge, the image of the invisible one, who is the Father, of all, and through whom everything came into being, the first man, for he revealed his likeness in human form. So I find this to be a very interesting piece of historic text on the creation of man. So then a little bit further down on page 113, it says, and he said to the authorities which attend him, so this is Yaldabaoth, come, let us create a man according to the image of God, which he called himself God, and according to our likeness, that his image may become a light for us. And they created by means of their respective powers in correspondence with the characteristics which were given. And each authority, we're talking the 365 authorities or spirits, beings, supplied a characteristic in the form of the image which he had seen in its natural form. He created a being according to the likeness of the first perfect man. And they said, let us call him Adam, that his name may become a power of light for us. And that's exactly what he became, a power of light. And what is light? I mean, when people talk about I saw the light, they're talking about that spiritual knowledge, that know-how, that that true inner truth. And that's what the light is. So he created the light. And after he created the light, it was, it wasn't what he wanted. It wasn't what he liked. He was a very jealous God. So then it says, and the powers began. The first one, goodness created. So these are all of the creations that he created. Goodness created a bone soul. The second, foreknowledge, created a sinew soul. The third, divinity, created a flesh soul. The fourth, so it goes on and on. There's 35 of them that create the first human being. So it kind of disrupts. I want to say disrupts. I'm going to use the word disrupts. The whole idea of Adam was created from the dirt, the earth. He was created by each one of these deities. And because each one of these deities had special abilities, he had both, the positive energies and the negative energies, the lighter and the darker energies. I'm sorry, I have to, I lost it. I sometimes have to take some of these because they're work assignments and they're gone. But that's okay. So, so that's kind of like the beginning, and we're going to do this. We're going to get into this a little bit more. I wanted to talk about this though. And this is the book of John. So John is asking Christ, okay, because this text was written, this was Christ talking to each one of the apostles and telling the apostles the story of creation. And Christ was reincarnated. Christ is the super being. Christ is he was reincarnated. He reincarnated himself to go into the body of Christ. Sophia reincarnated herself to go into Mary Magdalene. She also reincarnated herself to go into Eve. So all of these, this has been reincarnation. The spirit kept coming through to teach humans the goodness, about goodness, in the quality of the perfect man. And even though man is not perfect because we come from a material, we are spiritual beings in a human body. And it's the human body that causes us to um, kind of go to the darker side every now and then. Um, and it's to become perfect is just to become one with self and finding oneness. And okay, my assignment was canceled. Okay, great. Okay, so I have another day off tomorrow. Anyway, that's okay. I just it's been rough around here. They don't have plows. It's kind of funny, but this snowstorm is like it's affected the schools. I mean, I'm sure up north they had the snowstorm, and they got out there, they plowed, they sanded, and they might have missed one day of school if they missed that. I mean, because there was Martin Luther King, so I'm sure they didn't even miss one day of school. They might have missed one day, Tuesday, but they've been out all week down here. It's kind of funny. It's not, but it is. And people just don't know what to do. It's kind of like out in Arizona when it rains. People don't know how to drive in the rain. They're just not used to it when it rains really hard. So, to continue with this, I just, like I said, this is like really intense. This is an intense text. And I want to leave it there because there's so much in this one chapter. And we're going to continue with the chapter of the book of John, because we're going to talk about when the second Adam was created, and the story of the serpent and the tree of life and all those things, and the misconceptions that have been told to us, or at least I believe they're misconceptions, and I'm not going to tell anyone else what to believe. My purpose here is to just be able to inform, maybe plant a seed to hopefully open up your mind and say, hey, there might be a little bit to this, and if it does open your mind a little bit, do some research. This Nag Hammadi text is on YouTube, and there's 13 videos in the book of John. And like I said, when I first listened to it, it was like, whoa. And at first it was like, no, this can't be, but then compiled with everything else that I'm learning about spirit and universe and planets and every just energy, period. Yeah, it all makes sense. And even though it's a whoa, to me, this makes far more sense than what the watered down text that has been presented to me all my life. And again, if that's what you believe, that's what you believe. Some people need to believe in that text, and they need to believe that they're going to be saved if they follow all the little rules of whatever religion they're following. And if they're afraid and full of fear, I don't believe that. I don't believe, and I always said that as a young girl. I used to say, but God's supposed to be, a loving being, a forgiving being. And the stories I would read in the Bible was like, this is an evil being. This is a very mean, revengeful person. And then every once in a while, there'd be a glimpse of that kindness. When the stories of Jesus started coming in, that's when you'd see the glimpses of hope and love and forgiveness. And his story is very different than the story prior to. The prior to, the God before him that we were being taught was a very punishing God. And I remember going to Catholic school, and they were mean. They were just very, very mean and not forgiving at all. I remember I started Catholic school in the 5th grade, and I was considered the public schooler. And my brother and sister went with me. They went in different grades, but um, they they were thrown out for different reasons. And it was really, I mean, talk about marring somebody. I mean, labeling someone and making them feel so unworthy. And I remember being in mass and that prayer, Lord, I am not worthy to receive you, but only say the word. And the prayer made sense, but I remember always feeling that way, unworthy. And I don't believe that my divine source, my divine power, my higher power, my God, I don't believe that that's how my God wanted me to feel about myself. And I'll tell you, that feeling, I was a very young girl, and that feeling carried me for many, many years in society. And when you're walking around the world thinking you're not worthy and you're not good enough and that you're evil and that you come from evil, and um, you have a tendency to make really bad, unhealthy decisions for yourself. And that was a path I was on for a long time until I saw the light. And again, that light is that forgiveness, that love, that hope, that and I believe that my higher power, my God, had a plan for me all along. I was meant to see all of that. And I was meant to have this like rift in my gut, like every time I went to church or anything like that, it was like not, um, it was not sitting well with me. And I've got someone at the door here. So I will say goodbye for this, and we will continue this. Okay. So let's continue next week with the book of John.